Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Minecraft survival world. I hope that you enjoyed Minecraft Live this weekend. I certainly did, and I'm excited to see what updates we get into next year as we continue to get more than just the preliminary showcase footage for the Wild update, as well as in a month or two having access to the other half of the Cave and Cliffs update. Personally, I think it was a good call to move the Deep Dark into the 1.19 Wild update, just because it'll be a lot better if they can fully flesh out that feature as was demonstrated in their footage. And I, for one, am one of the members of the community that is happy that the LA won the vote, because I think that there's going to be a lot more practicality as to what it is capable of doing. But that's not the point of today's video, as today we will be revisiting the skeleton spawner that is right down below my base. You can actually see this little hole that I've made in the pool just down there over my shoulder. That will take us right down to the skeleton spawner. Now, I've made skeleton spawner type farm videos before, but I've come up with a slightly different design this time that I actually think is going to be really beneficial for a couple of different reasons. And the biggest one is I've found a way to use some of the new 1.17 mechanics in order to make the fall chamber shorter, so you don't have to worry about falling to your own death while building up this type of a farm. It does require the tiniest bit of redstone, but it's very self-explanatory, and I'm going to bring you along that entire process. So let's go ahead and jump down into that area. Oh, and as we do, I did make one brief adjustment to my GUI, so you'll notice that my toolbar is significantly smaller than it otherwise would be or has been. So I'm just kind of trying that out because I think that it's going to be a little more beneficial. So let's go ahead and make our way down to this skeleton spawner in order to get started with the project. And we can hear that there's a couple of zombies that are hanging around down here. It looks like that guy's right there. We'll catch his attention, kind of knock him out before starting anything else with this project. All right, so there we are. We've got the zombie taken down, and we're just going to kind of light things up a little bit. We'll grab this copper with our silk pick, because who knows when you'll actually need that. We won't need it as much as we did before by any means. But let's go ahead and start this little project or process here. Now, I think that some of my favorite designs for these types of rooms involve having a decent amount of space around this zone where the skeletons can spawn in. And right here, this is actually a misshapen dungeon. So you can see that we've got 3 blocks on this side until you get to the actual wall, and then just 2 blocks over here. So initially, we're just going to go ahead and knock out all of this cobblestone in order to make the room symmetrical on these 2 sides here. Give us kind of the same area to work with all the way around. Next up, we're going to come out an additional 5 blocks away. And I am going to kind of leave some light as we start doing this bit of a dig, because I don't want to have any surprises sneaking up on me. Now, where we have some weird spaces here, we are going to go ahead and just kind of make sure that we have that locked out, and then we'll dig out this way. We've got 1, so let's go 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's as far as we want to bring it, but we'll go ahead and grab this iron since it's right here as well. Get rid of that. rotten flesh because it's not going to be any use to us. And then we're just going to make sure that we block this out to the same length as this other floor platform here. So it's been a minute since I last spoke to you, and as you can see, I've given this room quite the transformation. And apparently, it's still spawning in skeletons, which is not super great, despite the fact that I still have everything pretty lit up. However, I don't have to deal with that for much longer, so I'm willing to look past it. So what I've gone ahead and done here is there's a couple of different things that you can do when it comes to setting up the mob collection. I think that for me, I've found a little bit better success when I have water running all along the side and siphon mobs down into a bottom trough as opposed to one singular doorway. And then with this design, the biggest thing that you're going to need to do to make sure that it works is down here at the end, you'll need to put a fence post here because that's going to bump your mobs up a little bit. And then let's go ahead and make sure that we have that blocked off because that's going to bump your mobs up. And then you'll need to place a piece of soul sand right here for your bubble column that'll send you or send the mobs up this way. And then you'll need to place 3 signs right like so in order to keep the water in this orientation. Now, we have to go up a certain amount, but it's actually kind of interesting. We only need to go up 11 blocks, or we need to have an 11 block fall in order for this particular design with the dripstone to work. So that's much better than digging a 20-something height item there. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get that set up well enough. All right, so now that we've got our column set up, the next thing that we need to do is we need to grab some kelp. And thanks to a overhaul or a revamp, we can actually place the kelp directly on top of the soul sand, which is actually exactly what we need to do with it in order to turn all of these blocks into source blocks of water. And then you should see that we've got a bubble column right here that we get chucked up towards the top of. And then that water stream will push these over. And then we'll have our mobs fall down here. Now, you saw that I didn't take a whole lot of damage as I fell down. I've got a decent amount of protection. I'm missing some fall protection on my gear. But the biggest thing that's going to happen is we will have a piece of dripstone right here that our mobs will fall onto. And that 11 block fall will cause them to take enough damage to the point where if they don't have any sort of protection armor on them, they will be within 1 strike by the time you are wanting to harvest them. But there's a couple of other issues that we need to address if we want this to be a system that can be auto-harvested. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and address right here. So we're going to need to take a block out there, and actually we'll need to take the block out above it as well, and then a block here and a block here. And this is going to give us the initial setup that we'll need. Now, the first part is actually a piston that goes right here, and I'm going to have to go back up to the surface and grab these, but we are also going to need a tripwire hook both here, and a single piece of redstone on top of this. So when the tripwires activate, the piston will trigger and push the skeletons over this way. So like I said, we'll place one tripwire hook here, another one there. We'll take a little bit of redstone and we'll place it right on top of... Actually, it's not that piston. It's the block adjacent to it right here. And then once we have that there, we can place this string here. And I'm going to need to knock out this block. But as you can see, when and if something comes in contact with the tripwire hook, the piston will extend and push over this way. Now, the reason that we need that is we need to get the skeletons out of this zone here, and then they're actually going to fall down. They'll need to fall down 2 blocks into a little chamber where we can interact with them here. All right, well, that's really all there is to it. You can see here that we have that setup that I showcased a little earlier with the tripwire hooks and the redstone and that. That will cause the skeletons to fall down from the water stream that we set up earlier. They do take fall damage from the stalactite. They do take fall damage from the stalagmite before the piston pushes them over. Since we have a gap above that, they have room enough to slide over here. They then fall down an additional 2 steps, so they don't take any more damage, but they are also not restricting any of the skeletons that come through here. And then we've got a simple little hopper minecart system to pick up the items that are dropped upon death, and then everything gets funneled into this chest. So the only thing that we have left to do is get it working. So let's go ahead and do just that. So it turns out that this system has 2 different flaws. You're seeing a little bit of a replay that I was doing for research here. And the area that I'm in down here is too far away from the actual spawner to activate it, which is the initial problem. And the secondary problem is because there's water source blocks underground, I've got axolotls spawning in this area, which is not particularly great because it causes 2 problems. One, they end up falling down my chute, and that causes trouble because then they interact with the tripwire, and the mechanism can no longer activate when and if skeletons do fall down. And secondly, as you can see right here, they can keep skeletons from coming through altogether, which is not ideal. Now I'm going to have to do some research to see if axolotls can only spawn from source blocks. If that is the case, then I think I can solve this just by waterlogging the source blocks that I have here, which won't be a fun adventure, to say the least, but it will be doable. And then we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. But I think that that is going to be it for me today. So if you enjoyed today's video or have suggestions on those couple of troubleshooting items I brought up there at the end, be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed, don't forget to leave that like. Thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.